Hi there. I gave you a kind of a brief overview of how to set up your initial individual recipe costs on the initial setup, but that's where I gave you a little bit of information here on the quick start guide and the initial setup tutorial. But now let's go down to individual recipe costs, and this is the tutorial that you're watching right here. So again, this is where you're going to put the cost of each ingredient and your recipes. And you can put 100 recipes in there. If you need more, go ahead and contact me and I will add some more to your sheet. I've given you links to some of the products that either I buy on Amazon or just to my local store, so you know what the heck I'm talking about. If you're wondering why I called it that name or something, especially if you're in another country. You can add your own ingredients, and this is how it tells you where, but I'll go into that a little bit later. And as you go along and you start cooking and using these recipes, go ahead and make a point after your, before you put your batter into your pans, make sure you know how many grams that actual recipe made, because later on when you start measuring grams and becoming much more precise about your batters, you'll be much more efficient in using your batters. You'll have a lot less waste, if any. And so go ahead, I don't have all mine done either, but as you're going along, try and get that number of grams that recipe makes. And I also want you to notice the handy converter. But anyway, I'll just show you all this. So go down here to individual recipe costs. So this sheet you update every so often, just because you might get a good price on butter, or your butter's basically gone up and you want to account for that. So let's say that, like I said before, you get your flour for $3.99. So if you do, then just leave that. If not, if you get it for $2.99, great, then put that in there. But all my costs are in here, and I think they're probably okay for you to start with until you start getting your particular cost really nailed down. And I get a 5-pound bag for $3.99. Well, how many grams is in 5 pounds? Well, this is where you go up here. You have a 5-pound bag, you've put pounds here, and you have a 5, right? And if it's yellow, you can put something in it, remember. And you need to know how many grams, so it's grams. It tells you 2268 grams, so I should have put 2268. Okay? So you're going to do that for every item that you have here that you're using. But let's say you got a 10-pound bag. So let's go up here. Instead of a 5-pound bag, you got a 10-pound bag. That's $45.39. So you would go ahead and put that here. Most of the time, everything that you have is written in grams and milliliters. So you don't have to if you just look at the bottle or the bag or whatever, but not always. And also sometimes you don't have access to that bottle anymore. Let's say you've put it in another bottle or something like that. Anyway, you can figure it out one way or the other. Now for things that are liquids, for example, almond extract, okay, I pay $15.30 and I get 473 milliliters. So this is what this is going to be per milliliter. All of this whole column here is either per gram or per milliliter. And that's basically leveling all the costs so that when you go ahead and you put your recipes in here, you're going to put either milliliters or grams. And it's not going to be that hard. I'll walk you through it. You'll find that it's way, way more precise and so much better, especially when you've got how many grams that recipe makes. So you know from your chart, and I'll show that a little later, you know that from your chart that you need only 900 grams, let's say. Well, then use an app or some kind of recipe converter that you have to say, okay, then if I only need 900, either I can make the whole one and save the rest for later, or I can actually get a 2/3 recipe or a half recipe or whatever you want, and you'll get, I guarantee you, a lot more efficient and you'll have very little waste. So it's a really good way to really increase your profit margins. And I was talking about the chart, so let me show you that. I use that a lot because people are always saying, I want a 2-tier, and I want to feed 50. Okay, so if I want to feed 50 and it's for a wedding, And I always make 3-layer cakes, 6 inches high. And they want a 2-tier to feed 50. Okay, so here's 51. Okay, so if I made an 11-inch, but that would only be 1 tier, that would feed 50, but they want 2-tier. So let's say, oh, we're going to do it for a wedding. So let's say we do 18 and 36. That would be a 6 and an 8. That should feed 50, a little bit more than 50. And so that tells me, oh, okay, I'm going to do a 6 and an 8 here. And how much batter do I need in cups? I don't like to do cups, but if you do cups, that's right here. But I need, it looks like 14, oh no, I'm sorry. So I would need to add this together and that together to get the number of grams that I need. Okay, so then again, it's all about leveling it all out to the same measurement. So if I add these two together, that tells me how many grams I need. And if I already know that my cake recipe for that cake is 1370, so I'm good there. And 1370 won't make enough there, but if I add it together, I should maybe 2.5 recipes, something like that. So then you can scale your recipe to 2.5, or you can just make 3 and keep that extra half in the freezer for cupcakes or something. Okay, so that chart is super helpful, and I found that it is pretty accurate, although I always give people a little more than they ask for because sometimes people don't cut cakes very efficiently. Okay, so back to individual recipe costs. So do that. I also did the cups because I just did, but I never measure in cups anymore. I always measure in grams. And the way you can do that is know the weight of your bowl empty and write that down somewhere so that you can measure the bowl with the batter in it, and then you can take off the price of the take off the weight of the empty bowl, and then you know how many you got. Or just get another bowl, zero out your scale, pour it in there, and find out how much it is. So as you can see, I've done pretty good on some of these, and there's a couple that I'm missing. So I need to get myself to do that. All right, so another thing you can do here is you can put your favorite vendor. You can also make a link to that vendor if you like. So let's say that you buy it on Amazon, and you go to the Amazon site to that specific item that you like, go up to the search bar up here, it's above where the screen is here, copy that link, okay? Then you're going to do insert, link. You will paste that link right here, and if you want to put whatever you want to put, you can put Amazon, which is what I put, or you could put Smith's or whatever. Wherever the link is to the item that you bought from whatever vendor it is, I would write that vendor's name here. Go ahead and paste that link there. And I'm not going to do it because I don't have a link copied. And then you would just do apply. And then every time you go to order that, you just click this link and you can go right to the site and order it. It's super easy. Now you can do this on some of these because I already have my links on some of these. Like this one, this is the one that I buy from Amazon. I think my almond butter I buy at Smith. Oh no, I did get an almond butter there. So some of these are just to pictures so that you know what the heck I'm talking about, and some are to actual links that you can buy from. All right, what else do you need to know through the individual ingredients and recipes? Okay, so what I have done, as I showed you before in the initial setup and the costing master, I like to organize mine all the cakes together. So I put all my cakes in 1 through 30. And even more, I divided my keto cakes toward the end, separated them out. So you can see there's some blank spaces in here in these recipes. These don't have recipes in there. So that separates them out a little bit. But as I add keto, I'll just add them here. And as I add other cake recipes, I'll just add them here. I don't know why those numbers are left over. Oh, I was still working on doing some recipes there. So at any rate, then I went ahead and decided to do 31 through, I think it was 60, through 55. No, through 60 were all of my frostings. And again, I put keto toward the end, and I put my regular frostings from the beginning. So 31 is where they started. And then the same things with fillings. I decided to do 61 through 70 was fillings, and then 71 to a certain number are other things like how my fondant recipes, my RKT, homemade sugar lace, gum paste, different recipes that I use. And then at the very end, I put a quick check. I put number 100. So let's say that you're not sure you want to actually keep this recipe, but someone's asking you to make it. How much would it cost? So you could just put one in here and then you just throw it away later. You can just delete all the values, but they would give you a quick check of a recipe that you don't necessarily want to keep. If you do want to keep it, just copy and paste it and then put it over here on the section where it belongs. So I know I'm talking really fast and doing a lot, but you're going to find that there's a lot in this little spreadsheet and it's really going to help you. So as you go along, you can find here that after zucchini, you can go ahead and add more things. Or if you want to, let's say you wanted to add something else here, you would just click this one. If you wanted to add it above wafer paper, because that's alphabetically how you would do it, you would just do insert one above. And this will show up because some of those values are locked and I don't want you to mess up the formulas. But if you want to go ahead and do that, that's okay. Just do okay. Then it'll give you a space and then you would just put in your item, what you paid for it, how many grams or milliliters. And then what you would do here is, let's see, what I did was I gave you that. Oh, here, never mind. Let's go find it. Where was that? So in order to get your, okay, so here you are. And if you want to add a new item to arrive at the price per gram, you simply divide the column C in that row by column D in that row. So right here is your little tutorial. And if it's milliliters, you're going to do it by column E instead of D. So it sounds kind of complicated. It's really not. Just follow this step by step. Okay, so I'm going to go back because I don't want that line there in my, good. So that's pretty much how the individual ingredient and recipe costs work. And what I love about this is that you put it in here and it automatically, magically shows up on your costing master. I did not put any of this here. It came here automatically from the individual recipe costs. So as you can see, once you get it going, it's super efficient. And then you have all your prices right here. When you go ahead and do a costing, then it's all right there for you. So please email me if you have any questions, you have any problems. tauscakesintous@gmail.com. Thanks and happy baking.